And go ahead and have the meeting room come to order, please. Yeah, you'll feel like you're in school, see? So I'll call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. This is a regular meeting for Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
I will. Tim Hale.
Here.
Stephanie Nowers.
Here.
Dee McKee. Robert Yunt.
Here.
Moki Tu.
Here.
Dimitri Fonoff. He is here, Madam Mayor, just not in the room right now. Ron
Okay.
Bernier.
Here.
Madam Mayor, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item is approval agenda. Is there anything the members would like to pull from the consent agenda? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
With your permission, I'd like to remove Resolution 23054 off the agenda.
Okay.
This is completely removed, not off the consent.
That is complete, complete
Yeah,
removal.
completely off the agenda. Okay.
Can you repeat which one you're pulling there? I'm sorry.
I would like to completely remove 23054 off of the agenda.
Okay. Question?
Are we allowed to object?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. So do we need to vote?
We do need to vote, Madam
Okay.
Mayor.
All right.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote on the removal of Resolution 23054, which is the last resolution on page 5, completely off the agenda. Madam Mayor, it passed with Assemblymember Fonoff, McKee, and Hale opposed.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other changes to the agenda?
I could pull resolution 053 from the consent agenda, please.
From the consent agenda, okay. Is there any objections to that? Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, then the agenda is approved as changed. If you all stand, please. And we are this evening, besides honoring the young hockey and the young wrestlers, we also are honoring vets. So if there are any vets, if they would lead us in the pledge, please. And you can just start out I and we'll follow you. So if any vets in the audience, please, of any kind, it doesn't have to be with the Veterans Organization. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So one of the great privileges I have as mayor is to honor some of the great people that live in our valley. If you happen to be at either one of the chamber meetings when they call on me to give a report regarding what's going on in the assembly, I always say, good things are happening in the borough. And tonight we get to celebrate some of those good things. So the first proclamation is for the Valley Thunder. So if they'll all stand, please. And I don't know if you want to, you are the official person? Okay. So let me go ahead and. Huh? Stay with me. I'll embarrass you thoroughly. I'll embarrass you thoroughly here. This is what I do this here. Get used to it, okay? You're gonna major in political science or something? Oh, shucks. All right. I didn't either. My degree's in accounting, so see, you never know where you're gonna end up. Yeah. Whereas the Valley Thunder under a U14 hockey team is a team that features players from all over the Matt Valley Prep hockey program. Whereas the Valley Thunder U14 hockey team has brought great pride and recognition to our community by winning the silver medal at the 2023 USA Hockey National Championships. Whereas the Valley Thunder under a U14 hockey team has demonstrated exceptional talent, teamwork, and dedication throughout their season and has served as an inspiration to their peers and fans, and of course to all of us in the Valley. Whereas the Valley Thunder U14 hockey team has upheld the values of sportsmanship and fair play and has represented our community and has served as an inspiration to their peers and who have represented our community with the highest degree of integrity and honor. And now, therefore, I, Edna DeVries, Mayor of the Mat-Su Borough, do hereby extend our warmest congratulations and deepest appreciation to the team, their coaches, and their families for their outstanding achievements and contributions to our community. So it is with great pleasure that I recognize the Valley Thunder U14 hockey team. Thank you. While they're dividing the spoils there, many of them will be leaving because some of them are active in soccer and some of them have a game in Houston, Alaska tonight. So you're welcome to stay or to go, whatever the team would like to do. And thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So let's see, Alicia, there you are. Do you want to come up? Yeah, right. So another first for Alaska. This is the first recognition from the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. And what we're honoring here tonight is caregivers for the vets. And Alicia is here. She is the regional director. And I'm going to read the proclamation, then she has a couple of words to say. Whereas our nation has been involved in wars and conflicts since World War II, which has resulted in 5.5 million military and veteran caregivers who are parents, spouses, siblings, and friends caring for the ill and the wounded who have served our nation. These figures are documented in the 2014 RAND study commissioned by the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. And whereas the daily task of these military and veteran caregivers can include bathing, feeding, dressing, and caring for our wounded warriors, administering medication, providing emotional support, caring for the family and the home, and sometimes even working outside the home to provide essential income. Whereas the nation provides multifaceted support to our ill and injured vets and service members through public, private, and other resources, but their caregivers receive little support or even acknowledgement. Whereas most military and veteran caregivers consider the challenging work they do is simply carrying out their civic and their patriot duty without realizing they, in fact, are caregivers and do not identify themselves as such. Whereas an alarming number of military and veteran caregivers, according to research, are suffering numerous mental, physical, and emotional effects themselves, just as a result of the caregiving and the demand of caregiving to others. Now, therefore, I, Edna DeVries, Mayor, do hereby proclaim on behalf of the Mat-Su Borough to support the Hidden Heroes Resolution and proudly became Hidden Heroes Borough, and this is the first one in the state of Alaska. So we're very proud to do that. Out on the table is some goodies they brought. You're welcome to help them yourself. And Alicia, go ahead.
If I don't cry first, sorry guys, I'm so excited about this. It's been in the making since 2019. So hello, my name is Alicia Mataloni. I'm the Dole Fellow for the Elizabeth Dole Foundation for Alaska. First, I would like to give a huge thank you to Mayor DeVries and her staff for not only listening to me, but for making the Hidden Heroes resolution possible. This makes us the 203rd location to sign. May is month of the military caregiver, and what better way to start it off than by signing a resolution that will help better their lives. According to EpiMap, we have approximately 4,436 military caregivers in the Mat-Su alone. Wow, that's a lot. A lot of love and compassion. It is my greatest hope that with this resolution, it will bring awareness and new opportunities to and for our caregivers. If you have any questions or are interested in learning how you can help, please see me afterwards. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And the next proclamation we have, the young student is not here because their flight was delayed. They've been in Las Vegas in a wrestling tournament where they took in second. And so we will check with and get this to Amelia later on. The next three young wrestlers we're going to acknowledge. We're going to do it individually because each one of them have so many lists, and we just picked out a few. And so when I do the proclamations, I'm just going to be listing a few of their achievements, both on state level, national level, and even international level. One of the recipients is a member of Team USA. And so, as I said, good things happen in the borough, and the way good things happen in the borough is because we have good people living in the borough. And so don't believe everything you read in the paper or on Facebook. So Reagan, we're going to do you first. Your proclamation, if you stay here, and then I'll read it for you, okay? Or to you, okay? Should we have Dad come down? No. And again, let me just say before I do the proclamations for these three young men is this is just a snippet of what they have accomplished, and who knows where they'll go from here. Probably, you know, the next couple of years we'll probably be honoring them again, and of course it'll be my pleasure to do that also. Okay. Are you going to blush if I read all this? Okay, all right. Well, if you're going to follow in your dad's footsteps, you need to get, you know, looking out over these people here, and yeah. Whereas Reagan Yount, a distinguished sixth grader student at Colony High School, has demonstrated exceptional athletic achievements in the sport of wrestling, bringing pride and honor to the community. And where he has achieved numerous state, regional, including winning the Tainana Middle School 2023 state championships at 77 pounds by outscoring his opponent 61-0 during the tournament. And whereas he has been the freestyle state champion, now listen to this, 2016, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. And as then placed 7th in the 2023 Adidas Folk Style Nationals and 2nd at the Rocky Mountain Nationals in 2020. And whereas he is coached by his dad, who has played a critical role in his success. And I'm sure his mom's had a little bit to do with that, right? Besides carrying him for 9 months, I think she probably has a little bit to do with it since that time. We commend him for his dedication, his perseverance, his commitment to excellence, his achievements to serve as an inspiration to all the members of our community, and we are proud to celebrate his accomplishments. And we wish him continued success in all his future endeavors and encourage all residents to join in congratulating him on this well-deserved honor. You want more pictures? Did you get a good picture? I'm trying. Oh, okay. Here, let's get one with you guys. As long as we share your candy. Hey, Mason. This is yours. Thank you. Thank you. Whereas Mason is a distinguished 6th grade student at Colony who has achieved outstanding academic success with the highest advanced placement in algebra and language arts, and is a distinguished honor roll member every quarter. And whereas he is also an accomplished athletic, having won the Alaska State Freestyle Wrestling Championship 4 times and 2 consecutive Triple Crown awards, as well as a state champion at 91 pounds, going undefeated with no points scored on him the entire season. He has excelled on the national stage, winning the 2021 Western State Champions in both freestyle and Greco, and being selected as the outstanding wrestler at that tournament, as well as taking first place in 4 additional tournaments and placing in the top 5 in 7 out of other national champions tournaments. He has been voted most inspirational by his club wrestling coach 3 times in a row, and is a 6th grade class representative at Colony Middle School. So you're on your way there to play. And also he is coached by Assemblyperson Rob Yount. So we recommend and come and congratulate you on your dedication, your perseverance, your commitment to not only the athletic portion of you, but your academic. And do you want to share? I think your mom told me a little bit what your goals are, right? Oh, you don't know? What do you want to be?
What?
You know what your mom's saying to you?
No. You have no goals in your life. I don't know what you're talking about.
She told, I thought, didn't you tell me that you had, that you want to be what? Astronaut?
Oh, okay.
So go ahead and say what you want to be.
What do you want me to say?
What do you want to be? What have you shared with your mom that you want to work towards to be in your life?
Okay, so I want to be an astrophysicist when I grow up.
Where's Shane? I've known you, well, yeah. I know you before you were even born, I guess, so however you do that. Is a distinguished sixth grader at Colony Middle School and a member of Team USA, which competes around the world. And you just got back from where?
Estonia.
Okay, so he has demonstrated exceptional athletic achievements that have brought pride and honor to our community, as well as to his grandparents who live in another state we won't talk about.
Aloha.
Yeah, right. I think you all got the idea. So he has won national, local, international championships, including the 2023 school state champion at 98 pounds and the 2023 Adidas national championships and the 2023 Tirana Open European Freestyle Championships. And you have achieved outstanding results at the national level, placing first at the 2022 Kid Nationals in Greco and second in freestyle. And also you are coached by Assemblyperson Yon. We recommend and condemn and congratulate you for your dedication, your perseverance, your commitment to excellence, to the achievements that you have served as an inspiration to our community, to your fellow students, and we wish you continued good success. And nobody shared with me what you want to do with your life. Do you? You know, you're not going to either. Okay. So anyway, again, congratulations. You want another one, Ann, so you can finish out the year? Okay.
Thank you.
And then our last but our not least by any stretch of the imagination, proclamation is the National Day of Prayer, which is this Thursday. And there's a number of events going on around the community for prayer. And so I'll read this proclamation. Whereas throughout history, Americans have lifted up fervent prayers to God on behalf of our nation. From the first gathering of our founding fathers, elected officials have prayed and encouraged those who serve to represent and join them in prayer. The authors of our Declaration of Independence wrote that the representatives of the United States of America and the General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world, whose prayers are still carried on at present day in our presidential proclamations. Whereas the National Day of Prayer has not only been a part of our heritage since it was declared by the First Continental Congress in 1775, but it is a public law. It's established in the United States Congress in 1952, approved by a joint resolution and amended by Congress and President Reagan with a public law in 1988, affirming it is essential for us in this nation to pray and directing the President of the United States to set aside and annually proclaim the first Thursday of May as a National Day of Prayer, which is May 4th. Thank you. George, can you just stand and turn off? I got you already. I was going to have you turn off the mic a second. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the minutes of preceding meetings. The regular assembly meeting of March 21st, 23, regular assembly meeting of April 4th, 2023, special assembly meeting April 11th, 2023. Are there any changes to the minutes as presented? Okay, seeing none, the minutes are approved. The next item is our reports and correspondence. Okay. The next item is reports from the cities. I don't see a representative from any of the three cities. I don't see a representative from the school district. Todd, do you have a report from the state of Alaska, the governor's office?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the Assembly and wrestlers and hockey players. And I'm once again, it seems like every time I come up here, we're congratulating some fabulous Matsu resident or team, and good things are happening in the Matsu. Just real quickly on legislation, legislative action, the last couple of weeks of session. So if you're trying to keep up with what's happening, good luck, because I can't keep up with it, and I try to do it all day long. So, but to speak to a couple of issues that I know are important, because I've talked to different assembly members about them, or you've asked me questions in the past. There is HB 66 and 68, and 66 is related to the governor's legislation for increased penalties for fentanyl and death caused from fentanyl dealing. And that has moved to House Finance out of House Judiciary, so it is moving. And the other companion piece to that, HB 68, which is related to sex trafficking, and that also was moved out of House Judiciary and is in House Finance. So there's some movement on those two pieces of legislation that the governor has presented in the House, at least. Also, a piece of legislation that was brought up related to opioid settlement money, SB 133, which establishes the fund in which the settlement money will be going into. I know Deputy Manager Hayes has been working with the local group on that, but that legislation is moving as well. If anybody wants to kind of keep track of legislation, you just type into a search engine AKLEG, and that's the legislative webpage. And then there's a search box where you can type in the bill number and get all the information that you want to know about that bill, the full text, which committees it's gone to, which committees it still has to go to. So that's a really good tool. Other than that, I know you've had a lot of meetings lately, and I don't have anything else, although I don't know if Assemblymember Nowers has had her question answered about Bogard Engstrom, but the Wolfgang Young was at the Wasilla Chamber today, and they mentioned that, and what I would tell you is the same thing. This is what I found out is there was a delay, a historical site delay, which it's a little different than what I told you before. I have more information, so I can, I think it has to do something with trees and the dairy that's there, that's no longer there, but there was a dairy there, and that's has been designated by the Preservation Society as a historical site. So that's part of what they're working through. DOT is not super happy with the decision that was made on that, and so they are appealing the decision to try to move that project along a little faster. But it's a process, and they have to submit some paperwork and then work with that state agency to try to move that along faster. But it is probably going to delay it one construction season. So they're looking at starting it next construction season. But that's about all I have, although I'm happy to answer questions if anybody has them.
Okay. Questions from the assembly? Yes, Deputy Mayor?
I already know what the answer is going to be, but I got to keep my streak alive. So this is budget season number 3 for me, and the 3rd year in a row that I'd like to ask Mr. Smolden if he could tell us what the PFD is going to be.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you. I will tell you the action. I will tell you through the mayor, Assemblymember Yunt, the action that has been taken on the PFD. But how it's going to end up, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say this in public, but yeah, we're not going to bet or anything. So the governor proposed a statutory PFD, which would be around $3,700. The House has passed a 50-50 percent of market value PFD, which is around $2,700. And the Senate passed a PFD of around $1,300, which is a 75-25 split percent of market value. So the process, what will end up happening is it will go to conference committee, where 3 legislators from the House and 3 legislators from the Senate will try to reach a compromise, and then the budget eventually will go to both floors of the House to be voted on. I think the governor's position has been to follow the statute until it is changed. The House, because of the work that they're trying to do together, has come up with a 50-50 number with a different calculation. And the Senate has stated that they do not want to spend any money from savings, and that's the reason for their number. But how that's all going to turn out, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
Did you follow up?
Thank you. That was very detailed. Still no number. 3rd year in a row. So I'll see if I can get him next year. I just want to educate a guest, but he never gives it. So thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Assemblyperson Nowers, did you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to give you a prediction that was safe to make. When's the ice on the Nana going out?
Through the mayor, that's
Hale.
definitely probably an easier thing to predict.
You won't get in trouble for that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the same spirit as Mr. Yunt, I would like to ask how much of our school bond debt reimbursement are we going to get this year?
I'm trying not to take too long to answer this question, although what I would say through the mayor, Assemblymember Hale, is that the governor's budget was a statutory budget. So, and he included the full school bond debt reimbursement in his budget. So he felt it was important to fund the budget according to statute. Now through the legislative process, the numbers have changed, but that's I think that's the best answer to give you. And I think his budget priorities were demonstrated in the budget that he put forward to the legislature.
I don't know if that's a thumbs up because he stopped talking or if you got the answer you wanted.
No, I definitely appreciate the statutory nature of including the full amount of the school bond debt reimbursement. It's really important to the borough.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Amen.
I think if I could just follow up, Madam
Sure.
Mayor.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I think Alaskans appreciate a statutory budget. I think what the governor's trying to do is to present to Alaskans something that they can count on, that's based on some consistent method of budgeting and funding. That's why he has continued to propose different components of a fiscal plan. He's done that every year. A spending cap, PFD solution, and those elements that create a balanced, consistent budget. And he continues to work with the legislature on that. If you have been following this, you will see that the legislature is moving more toward a better understanding of having a consistent fiscal plan so that local entities like you and the school district can count on funding.
Oh, yes, Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
What's the status of HB 105? It seemed to get, I was stunned when I saw that there was opposition to it, but where is that right now?
Through the mayor, so HB 105 is the parental rights legislation that the governor introduced. It did pass through House Education. It was changed significantly, and but that was necessary in order to pass it through that committee. I believe it's currently in House Judiciary.
Further questions or comments? Okay. Again,
All right, thank you.
thank you for always showing up, sir, and filling us in. Thanks. I don't believe that we had a joint Assembly School Board committee meeting, so we don't have a report. Are there any public relations reports? Okay, seeing none. Managers' comments?
I have no report tonight, Madam Mayor.
Woo!
Seriously. What are you trying to?
I could make some comment about a special meeting we're having in 2 weeks. Any questions to the manager that you'd like him to talk about, even if he doesn't have anything he wants to talk about?
My evaluation's coming up, trying to keep it real.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Attorney, comments?
I have no report and no dance moves.
Madam Clerk, report.
The clerk's report is in your red folder. Attached to the clerk's report is Thursday's agenda. It's the last public hearing on the budget. And that begins at 6 o'clock here in the Borough Building, here in the Assembly Chambers. And also just to let the Assembly know that I will be out of the office May 12th through the 27th. That's it.
Okay. Any questions to the clerk? Okay. The next item on our agenda is citizens and other correspondence. Are there any comments on the citizens and other correspondence by the Assembly? Okay, hearing none, they are presented. Madam Clerk, we have an IM.
IM 23094, informing the Assembly of the submittal of the Healthy and Equitable Communities Program application to the Alaska State Department of Health.
Is there any comments on the IM? Hearing none, it is presented. We do not have any persons to be heard. We do have some public hearings.
Ordinance 23034, an ordinance providing consent and approval for an access easement and waiver of liability for agricultural rights properties sold under former Title 13 located within lots 1 and 2, Roy Crawford subdivision. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Okay, we have a staff report. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Mayor, I'll be doing the staff report tonight.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, members of the Assembly, this is the result of, there was actually a lawsuit pending between two parties regarding access. As you know, the borough has a agricultural rights program where the borough has sold ag parcels throughout the years. There's some ag parcels up on near Lazy Mountain where there's an ag parcel and then the parcel behind it is a farm, but it's not a borough ag parcel. And the parcel behind it has been using an access road through the ag parcel. And what happened was the new owner bought it, blocked the road. There was a fight between the neighbors. One sued the other. And about 2 years afterwards, somebody realized this is a borough ag parcel and brought the borough into the lawsuit. So we're kind of along for the ride on it because of our property interest in that it's an ag parcel. So what the parties in the lawsuit agreed to was this access road, which had existed for years, but they're formalizing it. Because it's an ag parcel, you need the borough assembly needs to consent to it. I'd previously briefed the borough assembly on this lawsuit, but this is the final piece. And our staff has reviewed it, gone through it. I've worked very closely with land management staff. And where this access road is does not impact the ag parcel itself because it goes down the side of a hill. It's kind of a switchback down the side of a hill, which is one of the reasons it's there. So our recommendation is to approve this, to put this to bed, and everybody can move on and be neighborly.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 23-034. We do not have a sign-up sheet? Okay. Anyone that is here that would like to address the assembly on this ordinance, your public testimony needs to pertain to this ordinance. Seeing no one. Caleb, we do not have anybody online? Okay, so with that, I will close public hearing. Assemblyperson Hale.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance 23-034, and I think it speaks for itself.
Sure, go ahead and speak.
I think it speaks for itself.
Okay. All right, any other comments? Any objection to passing the ordinance? Okay, hearing no objection, the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 23035, an ordinance conveying and merging the borough's development right interest with the agricultural rights title for fee simple title with the agricultural, this is a tongue twister, sorry, agricultural covenants to James and Amber McDonough.
Okay, staff report again. Oh, hi,
Thank you.
Joe. Go
Good
ahead.
evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Metzger. I'm the Asset Manager in the Land and Resource Management Division, and I'm here before you to provide a brief staff report for IM 23085 and ordinance serial number 23035. So in November of last year, this body unanimously approved Resolution 22105 and IM 22224, authorizing changes to Title 23 and the Land and Resource Management Policy and Procedures Manual. The changes created a voluntary program that allows agricultural properties that were sold under Title 13 to convert to Title 23. When agricultural properties were sold under Title 13, they were sold as ag rights only, and the borough retained the development rights. These sales occurred in the late 1970s and early 80s. Under Title 23, our current code, when the borough sells agricultural properties, it conveys them fee simple title and imposes covenants, conditions, and restrictions that run with the land. Under this new program, the borough's development rights interest is conveyed to create fee simple title with agricultural covenants, conditions, and restrictions. While this conversion program vests fee simple title to the agricultural rights holder, this is important, the property must still be used for agricultural purposes. James and Amber McDonough are the first applicants to take advantage of this voluntary conversion program, and I believe there'll be many more to follow. Interdepartment review on this application was conducted and no objection from borough departments was received. Public notice was provided in accordance with MSB code and no public comments were received. This request was taken to the Agriculture Advisory Board on April 19th and the Ag Board unanimously passed Ag Advisory Resolution number 2301, which is in the Citizens Correspondence. I believe is also in your red folder if you'd like to look at that. They supported assembly approval of this application. James and Amber McDonough submitted an application and qualified to purchase the remaining interest in the land estate in accordance with MSB Title 23 and Land and Resource Management Policy and Procedures. Staff recommends assembly approval to convey the borough's remaining interest in the land estate and implement the covenants, conditions, and restrictions used under Title 23 agricultural programs. I'd be happy to answer any questions. It is a tongue twister when we're talking ag here. But.
Questions? Yes, Assemblyperson Hale.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just so I don't misstep later on, when we're talking about Title 23 and the Title 13, Title 13 is the method that we've been doing it, and the Title 23 was the old method. Is that?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember, it's actually reversed.
Reversed.
Title
See, there you go.
13
Yeah.
was an early ag program. We had ag sales in the late 70s and early
Right.
80s. That was off the books in 94 when Title 23 came on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I definitely would have had them backwards.
Yeah.
I had them backwards.
Assemblyperson McKee, go ahead.
When you talk about maintaining it as ag land, how long is that? Is there like a time certain or forever and ever, or how long does that go?
Go ahead,
Yes,
sir.
through the mayor to Assemblymember McKee. It will be perpetual. These covenants and restrictions run with the land. So the land must be used for agricultural purposes forever.
Yeehaw. Thanks. Great. Glad to hear it.
Further comments or questions from Assembly?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Joe. I will go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 23-035. No sign-up sheet? No, okay. Anyone would like to testify on this ordinance? Oh, and we do have one person online. Okay. The person online, go ahead, please.
Hi there. Greetings, Madam Mayor and Assembly members. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Amber McDonough, MDD ONO UGH, and I speak for myself, not as a Fishhook Community Council board member. I support Ordinance 2335, conveying the borough's land rights from Title 13 to Title 23 fee simple with agricultural covenants. This ordinance modifies the development rights of 40 acres of borough Title 13 agricultural property that my husband and I have owned for over 20 years. As phase one, we constructed a half-mile access road, cleared fields, and developed a fenced 30-tree apple and cherry orchard. Phase two plans include an expanded orchard with the introduction of pollinators to increase our fruit production. We're the first Title 13 ag landowners to pursue a conversion under this new program that was approved by the Assembly in November 2022 with the help of Joe Metzger, the Borough Land Asset Manager. We have worked with other Title 13 landowners since 2016 to develop this program that fills the ownership inheritance gap in the original 1977 land sale. We are eager to take advantage of this new Title 23 conveyance because it allows ag landowners who have fulfilled their original land obligations full fee simple land ownership. This allows the land and their lifetime of investments and infrastructure improvements to be transferred legally to their heirs. Last month, the Mat-Su Borough Agriculture Advisory Board unanimously passed Resolution 2301, recommending the Assembly adopt this Ordinance 2335 to convert our property to fee simple with agricultural covenants. Therefore, we respectfully request the Assembly approve Ordinance 2335 as well. This transfer of development rights will give us the confidence that our ongoing personal investments of time and money are worthwhile. Approving this ordinance will ensure our land can continue to contribute to the valley's agricultural production long into the future, even when we can no longer sustain these agricultural pursuits ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is that the only person we have online, Caleb? Okay. One last time, anyone here would like to testify on ordinance 23-035? Okay, seeing no one, then I will close public hearing. Assemblyperson Hale?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance 23-035. I'd like to speak to it briefly, if I may.
Go ahead.
So this is, as several people have said, the first of probably many we're going to see on this thing, converting 13 to 23, and it's pretty fantastic. Everybody was here when we passed this unanimously, the ability to do this. So, obviously this is going to be a good thing for the borough. I do think that there is more that we could do as far as the size of the parcels, breaking them up. Right now, I think our restriction is 40 acres. I think there are no more than four parts of 40 acres or greater. And with modern farming techniques and some of the things that people are doing these days with the tunnels that they're growing in and stuff like that, I think maybe we should be able to break up some of these a little smaller than we're doing. But the important part here is that the covenants, the agricultural covenants, continue along with the property in perpetuity. And I think that's just a great thing for our borough. It's kind of founded on agriculture, and let's keep it up. So,
Further comments from us? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, building on what Mr. Hale said, I'm really glad that this came to the point it's at. Could you imagine spending your entire life dedicated to a piece of property and not having fee simple title? I agree. I believe we should be able to break the parcels up to at least slightly smaller. I know as these pass down through the generations that we don't all just have one child, right? And different things. There's things that families got to consider, right? And so it would make sense in that aspect to possibly be able to help them pass it down through the generations. But, all in all, I think we're heading in a great direction. Could we make a few more adjustments, as Tim said? I think we could, and maybe that's something we take up in the future. But I'm really excited about this and for James and Amber, and I hope there's a whole bunch of more of these to follow. So,
For further discussion? Yeah, yes.
I'd just like to say I'm happy to see it still stays in agricultural use. From a person that's actually taken woods and turned it into fields and stuff, there's a lot of work and toil and sweat and blood, everything goes into that. And to watch houses spring up in an old hayfield or pasture and stuff like that, there was a lot of work that got it to that point, and a lot of perseverance. So, thank you.
Mhm. Thank you. Further comments from the assembly? Is there any objection to the legislation passing? No? Hearing no objection, the legislation passes. Madam Clerk?
Ordinance 23037, an ordinance naming Station 6-1, the Benny Cottle Public Safety Building. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Staff report, Mr. Attorney?
Sure, I'll give the staff report. Mayor, members of the Assembly, this is an ordinance naming Station 6-1 the Benny Cottle Public Safety Building, as the title says. Station 6-1 is actually the main Wasilla Fire Station at Swanson and Lucille, which is back off the highway. A lot of people are familiar with the fire station over at the Palmer, Wasilla, and Seward Meridian, which is near Cottle Loop, which is land that Mr. Cottle actually owned. However, that station was dedicated to the memory of the Roberts family back in 1987. I'm sure Mr. Cottle was around when that happened. So that building already has a name and a dedication. And so the main fire station at 6-1, which is Swanson and Lucille there, is this ordinance designates that as the Benny Cottle Public Safety Building in his honor and memory.
Okay. Assemblyperson Hours.
A question for the attorney. So we've got two things referencing naming borough buildings. It seems like we have a current process where you kind of have to, the assembly suggests that you go to a 5-member panel and there's a process. So with this ordinance, my question that I was trying to figure out, so if we pass this ordinance, does it automatically get named, or are we still going through? Yeah, okay, thank you.
So I'll speak to that on the next ordinance. It does not go to the committee and go out and solicit names. This names the building. Because the assembly, by ordinance, can write code, can change code, can do what it wants with code. And if the assembly wants to name a building, no matter what the code says, the assembly has the ability to name the building. And the next ordinance cleans up the code so that everybody sees that in the future. People who have law degrees know that, well, actually everyone knows now, because even though there's a statute that says what your PFD is going to be, the legislature can pass an act this year and tell you it's a different number. So that principle applies to naming buildings as well.
Just kind of a follow-up question. I mean, I love renaming this building, but I really don't like when we have things in code and then just like don't follow them. And I get what you're saying, but how many things in code do we have? This will go off topic, but how many things in code do we have that we do not, as the assembly, have to follow? And maybe a future comment I'll have at the end.
Probably 80% of the code this borough assembly does not need to follow. You write the code, and it is a basic principle of law that a prior assembly cannot bind a future assembly in telling them what they must do. There are some exceptions. Most of our code is local law. The part that you're bound to follow are state law.
I'll save other comments for when we have to read the public hearing.
Her wheels are turning, I can tell. Further questions to staff? Okay, with that then, I will go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 23-037. Is there anyone here that, let's see, I don't see our clerk. I guess there's no sign-up sheet then. Okay. Anyone here would like to testify or talk to the assembly about this ordinance, 23-037? Okay, Caleb, do we have anybody? We do not have anybody online. So with that, then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt ordinance 23-037, and if I may, I'd like to speak to it
Yes.
briefly.
Go ahead, sir, if you can.
Yeah. I really wish I'd done this sooner. It's pretty sad that it took one of the firemen in the borough to encourage me to do it. Full disclosure, Benny was my great uncle. The original fire department out here, he was one of the founding members of and spent 61 years of his life dedicated to the fire department. He literally breathed the fire department. It was his entire life. I've had people ask me why we're not trying to name the building on Cottle Loop. I didn't know this either till after he passed away, but apparently he sold the land to the borough that Cottonwood Creek Elementary sits on in the fire department, and he only wanted value for the part the school was going to go on because he wanted to give or reduce the value, however you want to say it, but the land for the fire department to the community. But it was named after somebody who had a really tragic event and lost their family already. And I know that my Uncle Benny played a role in that, and he would never have wanted to see it not be named after that family. And so that's why it is the building that it is. It was the guys in the fire department that asked for it to be that one. But, we have things in our community, the Menard Center that's named after one of the greatest members our community's ever had. We had Ted Stevens International Airport, and I did a lot of reflecting on this after Benny passed, and it's just people that dedicate their entire life to making their community better. It's unfortunate that it didn't happen prior, but so yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. I wish I'd done it sooner. I'm glad that some of the guys on the fire department encouraged me or asked me to do this. It was not an easy thing to do. It's just like bringing the wrestlers here tonight. This is what I admire so much about Edna. I didn't feel right about bringing these guys here because they're all 3 6th grade Colony Middle School kids, and it's unfortunate that we didn't have other kids from the community we could bring too, but we didn't have buses this year. And unfortunately, normally the Valley will turn out 5 to 10 Tanana champions a year between the boys and girls divisions, and unfortunately this year only Colony Middle had any, and it happened to be 3 kids that I've been lucky enough to work with. So I just wanted to disclose some things on the record. I wasn't trying to just cater to these 3 young men, and I'm sure not just trying to cater to my Uncle Benny. I hope that someday that the rest of our fire stations and EMS stations are dedicated to people that spend their entire life, doing everything they can to make the community better. So that's all I got. I hope everybody supports me on this. Thanks.
You did very good, sir. Further discussion? Yes, Stephanie.
I have no objection to this at all. When we moved to the Valley, one of the first things my husband did was become a volunteer firefighter. So everybody knew your uncle and, how much of a role he played. And, he saw the fire service change over time from when you could show up with however you wanted to show up with a beard. And, if you showed up in your body, you got to respond and jump in the truck. And now it's, hours and hours of training, and you can't have a beard because your SCBA mask won't fit and all that. But I am a stickler for the borough being transparent. And if it says something in code and then we just say, well, you don't have to follow that. I would just process-wise, I would prefer that we postpone this for 2 weeks, do the right thing, change the code, and then come back and pass this in 2 weeks, if that is not objectionable. And just, I'm a stickler for being as transparent as possible and following code whenever we can.
I was just asking, is that a motion, suggestion, or comment? What would you like it to be, ma'am?
Yeah, I'd certainly like the maker of this to weigh in, but I guess there's motion to postpone for 2 weeks.
Okay. Yes. Assemblyperson Hale, go ahead.
Technical question. Could we simply postpone this until after we consider ordinance 23038 and then take it up again later tonight?
To answer Assemblymember Hill's question, yes, you can. You can postpone it to right after the next ordinance.
I'd like to make a motion that we postpone 23037 until after we take up 23038 and are given a staff report by the attorney.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Just to be clear, we already have a motion on the floor, so Assemblymember Yunt would be moving to amend the postponement until after ordinance 23038. So it's a secondary.
Okay. Let me just ask the attorney, is ordinance 23-038 effective immediately? What is that? I don't have the ordinance in front of me. What's the effective date of 38?
It takes effect upon adoption.
Okay, good, thank you. Yes, Assemblyperson Now.
Just to clarify, given that, I'll withdraw my initial motion.
Okay.
Is there objection?
Is there objection to Assemblyperson Nauer's withdrawing her 2 weeks postponement? Is there no objection? Okay, so then the motion to postpone until after 23-038 is adopted.
Is on the floor.
Right.
It's on the floor.
Is there objection to that amendment? Assemblyperson McKee.
Just not exactly sure what we're doing here, so we're saying, we were going to name a building after Benny Cottle, which I think is an
Right.
amazing idea.
Right. And if I can speak for, I think Assemblyperson Nauers was concerned that maybe that wasn't following the code as closely as she would like. Is that interpreting what you were saying, ma'am? But if we adopt 23-038, yeah, we will have to have a public hearing, you'll vote on it. And if that passes tonight, then that would change the code. So then we could go back to 23-037 and adopt it, and it would be adopted according to code.
I
Now,
just
is that
think
clear
that
as
it's a
mud?
great idea to name the building tonight. Why wait? I mean, we're going to do it anyway. I just get her done. That's my thought.
Right.
So if I want to accomplish that by my vote, I would vote no on Mr. Yunt's.
Right,
amendment. Okay.
you would, yeah, right. But
And-
because the
and-
code talks about the mayor appointing and us doing a survey and, things like that. So,
Assemblymember Yunt.
okay,
I'm going to do a no.
Got Assemblymember Yunt.
okay. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
This is what I admire so much about Ms. Nauer. She's right. We really should take this up after 23038 because we're gonna have a chance to make an adjustment to that, right? So I do think that we should support my ask to move this to after 23038. And then I should have looked at this earlier and probably asked that we adjusted the agenda, but it's better this way. So please, everybody vote for my amendment to move it to after 23038.
Yes, Assemblyperson McKee.
Yeah, since it's you who put it forward to begin with and you who are making the amendment on it, it's your deal. So whatever you want, you got it. But just as long as Benny gets named in the final analysis, that's all I'm about.
Okay. Okay, further questions? Is there any objection to the postponement motion? Okay, seeing none, then the postponement motion is after ordinance 23-038. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 23038, an ordinance amending MSB 1.51, naming of borough buildings, other fixed facilities, and public places to clarify that the Borough Assembly retains final authority to name public facilities. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
And Mr. Attorney, staff report?
Mayor, members of the Assembly, this ordinance changes, as the title says, 1.51 regarding naming of facilities. When I started drafting ordinance 23037 for Assemblymember Yunt, I took a look at the code, and the code does say that preliminary action naming a facility is initiated by the mayor or a quorum. You appoint a committee, they go out, they solicit names, they kind of consider things, and then make a proposal to the assembly. Then it says the assembly shall set the naming resolution for public hearing at least 1 month after introduction and ensure appropriate information is disseminated during this period. Then it stops. Doesn't say anything about whether the assembly can amend it, which by state law you can, and no other assembly can take that away from you. Doesn't say that the assembly can reject it, which by state law, again, you can, because nobody can force you to vote, or you could just adopt it as is. So that's the first change that's being added to the code. To clarify, we're adding a section that says after the public hearing, the assembly may adopt the naming resolution, may amend the proposed name, or may reject the naming resolution, which are basically the three options that almost every ordinance that comes before you. And then the other amendment here to the naming process is that the mayor or the assembly member may propose a name for the public facility by introducing a resolution, which is what Assembly Member Yunt is doing. And then in the alternative, if you don't have a name, but you have a facility that you want named, you could appoint the committee to go out and kind of solicit and take public input. In doing some legislative research and looking into this, it looked like this ordinance was passed at a time when people were saying, well, we need to name our facilities, but we don't know what we want to name them. We'll get some public involvement. We'll set up a committee. We'll solicit and put, and look for, historical figures or prominent local figures to be able to name after. I think it's a different situation than what we have with regards to like the Station 6-1 being named the Cottle Building, when you have an idea and a lifelong dedication and unanimous assembly support for naming the building. So this is a kind of a cleanup because I came across the code that didn't seem to work, wasn't in line, and was at least 40 years old. So this is more of a cleanup ordinance than anything.
Okay, questions to staff regarding 23-038?
Just like we can name the building, we can also rename the building, correct? If we in the same process.
You can.
Thank you.
Okay, further questions to staff? Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 23-038. Anyone that is here that would like to testify on this ordinance is welcome to come forth at this time. Do we have anybody online, sir? We do not. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close public hearing. And Deputy Mayor?
I move to adopt ordinance 23-038.
Discussion? Any further discussion? Any objection to ordinance 23-038 passing? Okay, if none, then the legislation is moved. Now we are back to, do you want to reread the ordinance we're back to, ma'am?
We're on back to ordinance 23037, an ordinance naming Station 6-1 the Benny Cottle Public Safety Building, and the main motion is on the floor, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion, Assemblyperson Hale.
I think this is awesome.
Okay. Further discussion on ordinance 23-037. Any objection? Seeing and hearing none, then the legislation passes. Okay, next item on our agenda is audience participation. Anyone is welcome to address the assembly on any subject. Doesn't have to be something that's on the agenda, any subject that you would like to bring forth. And so we do have some people signed up. Chris, you're first.
Hi, I'm Chris Tyree. I'm here about pornography in the schools. They are trying to do something about it, but if we don't keep vigilant on it, they will bring it back. I would like to tell you about the RICO law in here, that it's a conspiracy causing injury. This is going to cause children injury for in the future, and it will cause loss of jobs if they are mentally traumatized by all of this, because you're hurting a child's spirit, soul, mind, and body when you do this. pornography is not for children in school, not even in high school. And they're doing very few academics anymore. But anyways, that's one of the other things. And I'd like to know if they're extorting and bribing some of these teachers to do some of this stuff, because there's a big code of silence. And that's all in the RICO law too, is code of silence and conspiracy with extortion and conspiracy of just making these teachers do what they don't want to do. A lady in California told them she wasn't going to keep secrets from the parents. She wasn't going to do the transgender thing. She got fired. Is that what's happening with our teachers here in Alaska? Are they going to get fired if they don't do all of this? I am not against transgender children. I think that it's an agenda. It's part of, that happened in the Bolshevik War in Russia in 1917. That's what Karl Marx and Trotsky did in Russia. They brought in all the trans, all the homos, and all the different things that are weird. And before you know it, communism set in. And a lot of this has to do with communism coming in. They want to take control of our children. I sent you all this packet, and part of it is the New World Order and the NEA, a Trojan horse in American education. They're working hand in hand to try to take our children away and have them as a property of the government. That's wrong. We shouldn't even have to make any kind of laws on parents' rights at all. It's parents should be coming first at all times, unless they're very abusive parents. You can tell when a child's abused. But anyways, they will come back stronger if we don't keep fighting this. The school did make a committee of citizens to try to read some of the books. I don't know how they're going to do that if they only have like 10 people, because there's so many schools and so many books to read. What I'd like to know is who's interested in our children and sexualizing them? Who's interested in our children and trying to use them? To me, it's grooming. It's grooming for use, abuse, trafficking, and or sacrifice later on in the future, because we've let God out of the country. We've let God out of our schools. As soon as we let the Bibles out of the schools, things started going downhill. And this is why people are doing all this weird stuff. The children need the Bible. The children need God, and they don't have it. When I was a young girl, we were told we were made in a perfect image of God and that we were perfect as we were. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Jackie?
Madam Mayor, Assembly, my name is Jackie Goforth. I'm coming to you today and giving you a packet of information featuring the book Let's Talk About It. I filed a library complaint with the borough about this book being in the Willow Library or available in any library. It's like opening Little House on the Prairie and getting Debbie Does Dallas or Deep Throat. A committee hearing about my complaint is scheduled for May 18th at 2 p.m. It is here at the Borough Building. It is open to the public, and I checked. The reason I checked is because I would invite anybody who is interested to attend, because I get 5 minutes to explain why this book should not be in the library, and then a librarian gets 5 minutes to explain why they should keep it. And I really want to hear that. I really want to hear that. Why? Because it's against the law. Not only is distributing this book a violation of USC 18-1470 and the Alaska Statute 11.61.128, but it won a challenge in Ketchikan because for some reason they couldn't figure out how to show that it lacks educational and scientific value. I speak about the chapter about gender reassignment. Now, if you look at the Amazon review that I gave you a picture of, you will see all kinds of naked bodies. They show men as women with women parts and women with male parts and penises and breasts, but not one person has a scar attached. Well, let me tell you, if you look at, let's take the sugarcoating off, okay? It's not gender reassignment surgery. It's genital mutilation. I gave you 2 pictures right there of the female to male gender reassignment surgery. They take the skin off your thigh or off your forearm, okay? They use it around a probesis. You're going to be taking drugs that are anti-rejection drugs your entire life. They extend the urethra by something they call manipulation. It means stretch it. And on one of those, it shows the catheter that's coming out of the new trans male's stomach, okay? It is not possible to change your gender without a lot of scarring and problems. You're going to be in a UTI, that's a urinary tract infection problem, your entire life. And guess what? You're going to deal with ingrown hairs. That's just the female to male. This book lacks literary value, it lacks educational value, it lacks scientific value. And I cannot believe that Ketchikan decided to keep it. So if anyone wants to join me on Thursday, May 18th at 2 p.m. here at the Borough Building, I really want to hear what that librarian has to say. Now, I have read the Alaska Watchman article about the recent conference that the librarians went to so they could learn how to combat people who are complaining about these books. And I already know how it works, okay? They use disdain, chastisement, shaming, intelligence questioning, shunning, embarrassment. Well, here's my answer to that. This is 53 new titles that I have prepared complaints for. This is for Mr. Leslie, who happens to be the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Library Services. I am now complaining for these 53 books, and I'm hand delivering it to the clerk right now.
Craig?
Craig Odom. It's really nice to see everybody here for once. I'm really happy to hear a lot of talk about following the code. A lot of you know that I'm not too happy about one of our previous meetings that we had where you, the assembly people, failed to follow the code, where we, the people who elected you, the assembly members, to represent us, the people, to follow the code that we did and you didn't, which we had the majority. Yeah, I think it's all coming back to you now. And now, with talking to some of my neighbors, we've got gravel pits and we got setbacks. And, you know, I understand there's a couple things going on. This isn't your full-time job. With many of you, this is your, like an additional duty, what we used to call in the military. So I just kind of wonder with gravel pits and further developments and property setbacks from bodies of water, of what might be going on in the future, what might be for down the road for self-serving or self-development for some of the businesses and different ventures that some of our assembly members have. So many of you are looking at rewriting some of these codes that maybe you have a passion for to fit your own likes and agendas versus how they're written right now, or to submit an amendment on the spot without any input from the people. It just doesn't seem right. So with all the talk that we had tonight about following the code, transparency, sticklers, just kind of disappointing. It really is. Mr. Bernier, nice to see you. I thought you were a ghost, actually, but nice to see you okay. That's all I got. Thank you for the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the assembly on any subject? Okay. Caleb, do we have anybody online? We do not have anybody online. Okay. One last chance. Anybody in the audience? Okay. So with that, I'll close audience participation. We are at the consent agenda, and does the assembly we have pulled 2 items from the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything else? Okay. So.
ready
Madam
for me?
Clerk? Uh-huh.
Resolution 23047, a resolution approving the Hidden Heroes designation from the Elizabeth Dole Foundation and pledging to support military and veteran caregivers in the borough. Resolution 23048, a resolution waiving borough landfill fees for the Alaska State Adopt a Highway program for fiscal year 2024. Resolution 23051, a resolution approving the unincorporated communities for participation in the fiscal year 2024 Community Assistance Program. Resolution 23052, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget for the Kepler Drive Bridge, Tuxedo Avenue Bridge, and the Wade Drive Bridge replacement projects, and approving the amended budgets for Bradley Road Bridge over Trapper Creek replacement project and Cashwitna Trail Grade Crossing Panel Upgrade Project. AM 23029, approval of change order number 2 for contract number 22078 PB with the Boutte Company Incorporated in the amount of $133,610 for the construction management services for the Lakes Boulevard Upgrade Project. AM 2330, awarded bid number 2380B to K&H Civil Constructors in the contract amount of $229,956 to replace the South Big Lake Road guardrail. AM 22031, awarded bid number 23009B to Meyer Excavation in the amount of $119,800 for the renovation of the Alcantara Sports Complex Field Number 4. AM 23032, awarded bid number 23073B to Western Construction and Equipment in the amount of $1,339,950 for the Central Landfill Access Road improvements. AM 23033, awarded bid number 23078B to OT Enterprises in the amount of $492,082.02 for the English Bay Drive Resolution Bay Circle in South Katmai Court improvements. AM 23034, approval amendment number 1 to contract number 2340B with Recon LLC in the amount of $89,800 to modify the scope of work for a project under contract for services pursuant to MSB 38170B2 to include geotechnical evaluation of material sites. AM 23035, approval of change order number 4 for contract number 2207PA with Lounsbury and Associates in the amount of $151,301 for the Hidden Hills Road Reconstruction Project. And AM 23036, authorization to enter into agreement with the StreamLink software in the amount of $103,750 for grants management solution for service through June 30th, 2025.
Deputy Mayor.
I move to approve the consent agenda as read into the record by the clerk.
Is there any objection? Okay, hearing none, the consent agenda is approved as read. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 23053, a resolution supporting state legislation prohibiting municipal taxation of the transfer of real property, pulled by Assemblymember Nowers.
Assemblyperson Nowers.
Yeah, I'd hold this one. And,
Can you move
oh,
it
yes, I'd like
first?
to move resolution 23-053 and speak to it.
Okay, go ahead and speak to it.
I, first of all, have no intention or interest in taxing the sale of property in the borough, but I am supportive of the state having less say over what municipalities and boroughs are able to do. And I think of Wasilla with the alcohol, the liquor licenses, and the state telling them how many they can do. And so to me, the idea of whether you want to tax the sale of real property should be up to the citizens and their government. So if it's the city of Wasilla or the city of Palmer or city of Anchorage or the borough, I think that's a decision best left to those municipalities and boroughs to make. And we shouldn't be supporting state legislation that tells cities and boroughs what they can and can't do. To the extent possible, I think we should leave that up to the local citizens. So like I said, while I'm not in any way, shape, or form supportive of this borough assembly taxing the sale of real property, I object to legislation that tells all boroughs and municipalities what they can or can't do. I think that should be left to the local folks.
Okay. Yes, Assemblyperson Hale, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Assemblymember Nowers makes a good point. local control is always the best as far as that goes. From what I can see, state's probably looking to prohibit us from taxing the sale of real property so that they can then tax the sale of real property and not have to worry about us getting our cut. None of us are going to be here forever. Who knows what a future assembly might feel is necessary to balance a budget. I just don't think that this is smart in the long run of things. So,
Mr. Attorney, did you have a comment, sir?
Just so Assemblymember Hale knows, this bill also prohibits the state from collecting a sales tax on property.
that's almost enough to change my mind.
Wanted to make sure.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, let's see if, so I really admire the spirit of what Ms. Nauer is saying. I do not believe that we should be trying to influence, say, Fairbanks or Soldotna or Kenai Peninsula Borough, whoever it is. I agree wholeheartedly with that. Really what this is, though, this is somebody in Juneau that's trying to get this done for the entire state. And I think really what this is do we believe we're supporting, that's my opinion, but we're asking them we're telling them we would support them in this. So really what you got to ask yourself is this something you ever want to see happen in the borough? And I can tell you, me personally, I grew up in a trailer park, and I've spent my entire professional career in life dedicated to creating and protecting affordable housing. And there are multiple states that do tax the sale of housing. And I can tell you, they all have very high homeless populations. Every one of them. I mean, the numbers, these are all easy things to get. The North American Home Builders Association, if you guys are ever interested, has some phenomenal statistics. You just Google the NAHB and it's all right there. Big government leads to big, costly housing. There's no debating that. You know what I mean? You can buy a 2x4 at the Spenard Builder Supply and Acreage for anywhere from 2.5% to 4% cheaper than you can buy it out here, depending on fuel costs and things at the time. You have to truck things farther out here. That's why it costs more. It costs even more in Soldotna than it does here. But yet we can build substantially cheaper here than we can build in Acreage, right? I don't think Acreage is taking the right approach. They have very costly housing, and I'm not just talking the land. I know the land is going to be, of course it is. It's going to be more. It's closer to the airport and Costco. So of course there's going to be more value. What I'm talking is from the concrete to the crown molding still costs substantially more to build in there because of, how they do things locally. And so somebody in Juneau, I don't even know, I don't remember. I mean, I talked to the attorney and I brought forth this resolution supporting, but I don't even remember. Attorney, could you tell us whose bill this is, please? Because I don't remember. Yeah, I mean, but that's my point. I don't even care whose it is. Like the principle of this is, I think, better for everybody in Alaska. I am a very selfish Valley in Mat-Su-Borough caring person. That's my top priority in life. But I will say, I do care about the rest of the state of Alaska, and the spirit of this legislation is, I think, definitely in the spirit of protecting housing and pricing. And so I do ask, and I hope that everybody will support this, but that's all I got. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We're waiting for an answer or.
So it's Representatives Column, Ruffridge, Tomaszewski, McKay, Wright, Josephson, Kronk, Shaw, Sumner, and Stepp. So a lot of people.
A number of them from Anchorage, I think. The number of the names that he read off are representatives from Anchorage.
Yeah, so there's people from all over the state of Alaska. Those aren't just, I heard one of our local representatives, but the rest of them, I think, are from quite a few different various places in Alaska, and I think they see the value in this. The state has a spending problem, not a revenue problem, and I hope that if they ever do decide they need more revenue, that they don't attack housing. So that's why I'm asking to support this.
Okay. We have, I don't know which one was first. And
We could let
my
Tim go.
clerk,
I
who
did
is my clerk, didn't write initials down. so-
Sorry, Tim, I'm picking Stephanie.
Oh.
Yes.
Assemblyperson Bowers, go ahead.
No, philosophically, I'm with you on, is it a good idea for the borough to do this? No. But local control is important to me. And this legislation is, if it just said, keep the state from taxing it, I could maybe support that. But this says prohibiting municipal taxation. So philosophically, I can't support something that's going to restrict local control and not just the borough, other places around the state.
Assemblyperson Hale, go ahead, sir.
The maker has convinced me.
Okay. Further discussion? The motion before you is to adopt Resolution 23-053. Correct? Okay. Is there any objection? We have an objection. Okay. So then if you will go ahead and vote.
It passes with Assemblymember Nowers opposed.
Okay. I think that takes care of all of that. There is no unfinished business. There's no vetoes. And then we're ready for introductions whenever you are, Madam Clerk.
For introduction for public hearing on May 16th is ordinance 23033, ordinance 23036 with accompanying resolution 23045, ordinance 23039 with accompanying resolution 23049, ordinance 2340 with accompanying resolution 2350.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
I move to introduce the legislation as read into the record by the clerk and set the public hearings for May 16th, 2023.
Is there any discussion on the introductions? Any objections to any of those being introduced and set for public hearing? Okay, hearing none, and the legislation is introduced and set for public hearing. Deputy Mayor, vacancy report, sir?
I move to confirm the mayor's recommendations as follows. Local Emergency Planning Committee, resignation of Stephen Payne. Planning Commission, resignation of Bill Kindig. Caswell Fire Service Area Number 135, resignation of Philip Johnson. Chase Trail Service Area Number 134, Paul Bauman.
Okay, is there any discussion about any of those resignations or appointments? Okay, is there any objection to the vacancy report being adopted? Okay, hearing none, and the agency report is approved. There is no new business. There is no referrals. There are no reconsiderations. So we will start. Assemblyperson Fauna with comments, parting comments.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody who spoke. Thank you for bringing up attention and continue bringing up attention to the issues that we really care about. Just wanted to give you a little brief summary. Me and another assembly member went and had a very productive educational meeting with Emerson Kruger earlier today. And I would strongly encourage all assembly members to take time of your day, maybe on the phone, but it'd be best in person, where you could sit down and ask multiple questions in regards to what it takes and how they make decisions when it comes to a timber sale. It was very educational when you look at the map and the formulas that take place in order before making a decision, so that an assembly is not being swayed by just a very few people that have opinion, and oftentimes it's very misleading about the statements they make on the public setting. But once you really get to know the process of it and how it's really beneficial for us as a community, for the safety reasons and for many other things, and how much we're going to benefit when the new growth will take place. It is very amazing to look at the from education side. I also took a lot of time to, after the meetings that we had, and I heard lots of feedback from the Willow community to talk to forestry and to EMS staff, and I think they will be available to answer some of the questions when it's going to be in front of us, and I think that will help all of us to make the right decision. So, and as far as I learned fairly quick that anytime something's in front of us, it's best to take time to get to know the issue, even if you're not familiar with it. Take time, make some phone calls on your own time, and reach out to staff, and they're usually pretty helpful to educate you on things. And then when it comes in front of you, before we have to push the button one way or another, you're very well informed, and I encourage everybody to do that on some of the issues that we have coming up. And any ordinance that we really pass, I realize that it is for law-abiding citizens. It's the ones that will follow the rules. So if somebody doesn't want to break it and somebody does not want to follow, whether it's a gravel, timber, or anything else, it is going to be, those people are not going to follow regardless what kind of laws or ordinance that were passed. So I think there's a lot of people that currently following the code. They're going through all the proper procedures to get permits and things like that. And most of the time, or I should say almost probably never, we get to hear them and speak and complain. So I'd like to speak for those. I'd like to say that those people are doing the right thing. They're working hard, and we appreciate them in this community, and that's what we're built on. And I want to thank everybody else for that.
Parting comments, Assemblyperson Nowers.
No comments.
Okay. Parting comments, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, it was a great evening. We got to celebrate a lot of amazing people, and as well, I should say, a lot of amazing youth in our community, and then our veterans and our ability to have prayer in this country is a pretty awesome evening. We do have a big vote coming up in front of us here in regards to logging and cutting trees and different things. And without going into a lot of detail, I would just like to say that I would encourage everybody to seek out the knowledge of our staff. I spent close to 2 hours with Emerson today, and it was very educational, and I would encourage everybody to do the same over the course of the next few weeks. So that's all I got.
Okay. Madam Clerk. No. Mr. Manager, parting remarks. Okay. Mr. Attorney, parting remarks.
Other than to remind Assemblymember Hale that the clerk's evaluation is coming up too. So, when she called on Assemblymember Nowers first, I'm just saying. No, I was going to tell you guys next week, I will be gone to next meeting as well. I know the clerk said she's going to be out. My daughter's graduating college down at Whitman College in Walla Walla. I think she's winning every award the college has, honors, high distinction. We're having dinner with the president of the university the night before.
Great.
So it's a big deal. So we're going to be gone. So I did want to mention, under our code and under state law, there's a procedure when a member has a conflict. And that procedure is that you're supposed to disclose to the mayor on the record what the perceived conflict might be. And the mayor then, and you're supposed to disclose, all the relevant facts, every, this, that, and the other. And then the mayor makes the ruling. And it doesn't say that the mayor has to make a ruling one way or the other. It says the mayor makes the ruling. And if somebody disagrees with the mayor's ruling, they can try to override the ruling of the chair. I just want to remind everybody of that. I know there was lots of public testimony last time, and there was some public testimony up in Willow too about people about personal interests and not only with the logging issue, the gravel issues coming back, there's water body setbacks coming back, and people are saying, well, you have an interest in this, an interest in that, and our code's pretty clear. You have to taking something in order to benefit a personal or financial interest, you disclose it to the mayor. The mayor makes the ruling. If the mayor says you stay and vote because she doesn't find a conflict, that's the end of it. And our code says that the ethics board cannot hear those cases if you disclose it to the mayor. So state law says that if you don't adopt a code that's saying that that's the rule that applies anyway. So that's why it's in our code. If there's any questions about that, let me know. Mr. Ashenbrenner will be here at the next regular meeting. I will still be here Thursday and all week next week. I'm out after that. And then there's a little bit of delay in my coming back because my 15-year-old son and I are driving a car up. My dad's parting with his little sports car and giving it to me. So we're driving it up the Alcan. BMW Z4.
Aww.
I have a nice dad. He's getting old. 2007. So he's feeling his age and hurts his back.
Parting comments, Assemblyperson McKee?
Yeah, once again, appreciate Jackie and Chris bringing up that. I asked at my school if this book that Jackie had out there, Let's Talk About It, was in my school. It actually was. Thank heavens. It had not been put out on the shelves yet, and then they pulled it. But I guess what really concerns me is, A, who's ordering this stuff, B, who's watching is nobody paying attention to what people are ordering? Maybe it just hadn't made it out there yet. So when the top dogs in the school don't know that it's there, what do we got? Where are the safeguards? So thank heavens for all this furor that's happened. And I will be there. I will take time off from school to be there here on May, would you say 8th at 2? 18th at 2. Yeah. Good on you. It's just the fact that we don't know that it's there. It's like it could come out and bite you at any moment, and that would be devastating. So good for you.
Assemblyperson 2, no comments. Assemblyperson Hale, comments?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So resolution 23054 that was removed entirely from the agenda. I really think that was a disservice. I think we should have talked about it at least, whether it went down to defeat or not. We should always talk about it. These are things that people put on the agenda. They have put a lot of work and thought into, and I think we should at least take the time to hear them.
Okay. Assemblyperson.
So I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. I would like to give a shout out to Joel Davidson for Watchman. He does keep us informed on a lot of issues. And I just wanted to pray. Dear Lord, thank you for all your blessings. Thank you for the good weather and the longer days. We ask you for guidance and wisdom. We ask you, Lord, to bring our borough citizens together, to love one another, to help one another, for the young to respect and learn from their elders, and the elders to give insight and wise advice to the young. Please, dear Lord, to draw us together as a community. May we work together to do your will. May your love change hearts and minds. May your Holy Spirit lead us to a revival. May we hear dry bones rattling in our valley. Oh Lord, thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
I would just like to add one thing to what the attorney said. When you are asking or stating a conflict, there's not only you personally, but you're also your immediate family. And up to $1,000, I believe it is, on when they consider financial, over 1,000. So it's just not you personally, but it is your immediate family. And if you have some questions, either Nick or John can give you the full code, because there is a whole list there of immediate family members. Okay, there's no executive session. Unless there's some objection, we will adjourn at 7:44.